Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk. Welcome back, and thank you for downloading and listening to another episode of the Topper Talk podcast, the official podcast of the Red Towel Trust Collective. Follow us on all those social media accounts. You see them listed below. Just give us a search and follow. And as always, this podcast is sponsored by the Fireman Moving Company. They are the official moving company of WKU Athletics. Not only can they be trusted to move all the coaches in and out of Western, but they can move you anywhere nationwide. The Fireman Moving Company is owned and operated by firemen and is founded by WKU alumni. If you're looking to move sometime soon, give them a call at 270-791-1755 and get yourself a free quote. Again, I promise you, they do this professionally. They're good at it. They're great at it. They're efficient and worth every dollar. They're a strategic partner. They're pro WKU. So give them a call. Let them help you out. Now, the man across from me is not Tyler, as the intro says. This is a podcast that I've had circled on the calendar for quite a while. We've been trying to figure this out and get it done. But I've got the man, local Bowling Green realtor, longtime friend of mine, and the co-founder of the Red Towel Trust Collective. I've got Mr. Hank Wilson with me. Welcome to the show, Hank. Thank you for joining me.
I'm excited we finally carved out time to do this. Much needed.
Absolutely. Now, we do want to dive into all things NIL and collective related. But before we do that, I have to have you tell the story, because I've heard it a couple of times in close circles, just small groups and gatherings of people. But, I don't think a lot of people realize where your passion for WKU athletics stems from. So just, tell us, what is the source of that passion? What drives you to be just such a huge fan and supporter to this university?
Well, I showed up in Bowling Green as a 17-year-old freshman on the Hill. And of all places, ironically, I had a friend at Middle Tennessee State that said, hey, if you go walk clothes for the team, you can get some scholarship money. And my parents had enough, but didn't have a lot. And so me being very naive, I walked right into our one-sided football stadium, found the first person that would have a conversation with me, and I asked for a job. And he stared me in the face. He asked me what my name was, and I said, Hank. He said, Hank, I like that name. You'll do video. And that man that I talked to happened to be David Elson, the head coach at the time, which, looking back, that was a little crazy of me to just waltz right in there, but I guess it worked out. And, I worked as a volunteer assistant my first semester. And then we had a change in leadership at that department I was in. And he asked if I could fill that void. And I did. And then he put me on scholarship and changed the trajectory of my entire life. So I'm forever grateful to him. Got the chance to work with some great assistant coaches like Willie Taggart back then, which that circled back to help me out later in life. Graduated from Western, got a job at UCLA right after they knocked us out of the Sweet 16, ironically. Came back under Elson to be on his staff, and then was retained by Coach Taggart, was retained again by Coach Petrino, and, decided it was time for a change in life. But, this place has done everything for me. And I've also seen it from an FCS school with a one-sided stadium to Division I football to 26 straight losses that I was on staff for. So part of the problem, I guess you could say, but then maybe a part of the rebuild. Proud to have been on staff for the first modern bowl game in school history. And, I owe everything in life to this place. I really believe that. Shaped who I am as a person.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think a lot of people just know just how deeply that runs through you and what it means to you. So I think once people start to hear that side of the story, and then they get to know you, or they follow you, or ever have any interaction with you, they understand just what this place means to you and why it is just so deep in your veins that, we're going to succeed. We're going to be good at what we do. And I love to hear that story. I've heard it a few times now, and it hasn't changed, and I love it. Now, I don't want to gloss over this next question, because, it's still relatively new in college athletics, but, it's something that is ever evolving and changing. So, you know, explain, just tell people that may not know if they're listening, because I think there's a faction of fans that still aren't educated in exactly what is NIL exactly, and what are collectives that are being formed at universities across the country rather.
Shoo! How much time do you have? No, I kid, but honestly, NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. I think most people know that at this point. And, you know, what it started out as versus what it's evolved to and where it's headed, it keeps changing. And that's okay. But the basic premise of this is that players used to not be able to be compensated outside of their scholarship and stipends. And, you know, the argument that you hear from a lot of people is that, well, they're on a full scholarship and that's great. But I know myself, when I was a student, you know, I had football practice, I had class, but I did have a little bit of time to myself. Those that play, I know Coach Helton says this a lot, and I reference it because I don't think people can put it better than he does. But, you know, they wake up at 6 a.m. and their feet hit the floor. They don't finish until 10 o'clock at night. So between classes, film study, training table, weights, practice, I mean, it's nonstop. And so the little things that we take for granted, like, you know, think about emergency expenses. Like, you know, you get a flat tire. Where does that money come from? Their housing checks go towards housing. Their meal checks go towards meals. I mean, there really is no opportunity for them to get income unless it comes from their parents. And a lot of these student athletes that we have are providing for their own families, you know, let alone being able to go to them for help. And so I'm really glad the rules have changed to where they can be compensated now. I don't necessarily agree with the entire framework of the way that's set up. There's still work to be done, but the most important thing is they can be now. So, you know, for us, NIL, it's critical. And I think we're at a major crossroads here where we've been very accustomed to success in the basketball program, you know, like going to the NCAA tournament this week. That's a really big deal. Had there been no NIL in place here, we would not be able to compete at the level we are right now. But that doesn't mean it's good enough, nor does it mean we should be complacent. We have to keep up with the Joneses, whatever that means. And so we've got to continue to improve. But I think the most important thing is that these guys can be compensated, and they're compensated for their name, image, and likeness. They say it's not pay to play, but the reason their name, image, and likeness has value is because they're good players and good human beings. And so they deserve what they get. I'm happy to dispel any misconceptions about what that looks like, or specifically what that looks like here with certain guys. There are way more positive stories than you might think. And I think the more stories that get out, the more willing people will be to join this cause, because I think we are the most impactful thing in winning and losing right now. I'm not just saying that because I'm involved. I know it to be true. So name, image, and likeness, players can be paid now. And if you've got any questions about that, hit me. I'm ready.
So then, you know, now the Red Towel Trust gets formed and started. And, you know, this is not something that doesn't take a lot of time. You know, you're a full-time realtor, you're a husband, you're a father to 2 children, and you take on this massive project that, you know, is going to take up a lot of your time. Maybe you didn't realize when you started how much of your time it would take up, but you know, what went into that decision making? I know you had enough going on with your full-time job and your husband and father duties. You know, what went into that decision that, you know, we got to do something, and we need to do it now and get this thing started? What went into that process?
I think when the news broke, I probably reacted the same way everybody did. I said, okay, I'll be interested to see what happens with this. And then a little bit of time passed, and it very quickly became an absolute necessity to survive. And so there was a little bit of a lull and a little bit of a waiting period where I, probably like the majority of our fan base, was kind of just waiting to see what formed, and it hadn't happened yet. And with my past connections with athletics, I think it was a natural, what I thought at the time, maybe short-term substitute until something was put in place. So yeah, full disclosure, I didn't know what I was signing up for. Not to say I have any regrets about that, but we formed it out of need. We formed it in what I would consider more of a survival mode at first, and then it's evolved into something amazing, something challenging, something that gets me more irritated than anything in the world, something that gets me more excited, and then something on days like Saturday night when we're cutting down the nets that's more fulfilling than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah, and then you've got a solid team of people that help co-found that with you. Some unpaid volunteers, we'll call them, because I know a lot of you are giving a lot of time and effort, and you're not getting compensated for it. So, tell us a little bit about Keith, Wilcutt, and then both of your wives that are also contributing to the Red Towel Trust, and then also you just hired your first executive director there, Nick Eulenhoff. Tell us about that team that you have that's contributing every day and just helping make this thing go.
First of all, the Wilcutts are maybe the only other people that I know are as crazy about the Tops as we are. When I tell you we eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, the stories I could tell you about Keith and Rachel, and I think some of our fans have probably seen them and seen how they react. And like that is what makes this place special, is people like them. And so everybody brings something a little different to the table. I don't even know how I would define mine sometimes, but I'll tell you about the other people. My wife is a graphic designer. She worked for Spalding International for many years. She got her start in graphic design and athletics before it was even a thing. I remember back, one distinct memory I have was her working with recruiting for our football staff when she was a student, and she made a luggage tag for Jared Clendenin, who I'm very proud of and is a successful member of the Bowling Green community right now. But Jared ended up committing to us and became an unbelievable defensive lineman. And now he's a husband and a father with some kids that look like they'd be really nice hilltoppers here in a little bit. But that was before what we see graphic design today, which is an integral part of both recruiting and, athletics in general. And so for us, any graphic you ever see, any logo you ever see, she's the one creating it. We busted our butts on this website that we're very proud of. And those graphics came from her. The Red Towel Trust logo came from her. The Topper Talk logo. Yeah, I see what you did there. She's an extremely talented individual. She cares about this place just as much as I do. And I'm, forever grateful to her. Rachel is an absolute whiz when it comes to financials and numbers. She is an unbelievably organized woman. Aside from that, the part that you can't manufacture is that relationship piece. And both my wife and Rachel and Keith, like, we care about these guys. We get to know them, but then we fall in love with them and we want to see them succeed. And we want to see these guys get every opportunity they can. And Rachel's fantastic with that. Keith is one heck of an attorney. I'd hate to be on the other side of a courtroom against him. And there is a lot more legalese that goes into this than I initially anticipated. And we're extremely protective of making sure we do things the right way and that we're not crossing any boundaries or doing anything we're not supposed to. So Keith keeps us on track. He protects these players as well when situations arise where they need his help. And it's not always what you might think it might be. Like he is, he's been able to assist players in situations not always of their own doing. And so we are just this ragtag bunch that's kind of figured it out as long as we could. And, we knew for a long time we needed help. But how do you tell people, hey, we got this job and it's really hard and it's very thankless and you're not going to get paid? So we finally were able to, through private funding, through none of our donations, none of our memberships, we were able to hire Nick Eulenhoff. And when I tell you this is a home run hire, I mean, this is like hiring Steve Lutz or Tyson Helton. He was a home run. This man has been responsible for everything within the football program, from travel to meals, scholarships. I mean, he was the chief of staff for the WKU football program under Tyson Helton. He's been here twice. I've been on staffs with him twice. So I've had an upfront view of how hard of a worker he is. I knew that we were at a point where if this was ever going to happen, this would be the window in which we had to pull it off. And a lot of things had to go right for that to happen. And I am so thrilled, not only that Nick's here, but his amazing wife, Andrea, who she got roped in like the other wives did. I know she's working hard too, and she probably won't get the credit that she always deserves. But I mean, we have got one heck of a team, and you're included in that because you're telling the stories that I don't think always have a chance to get out there. You prepare extremely hard for this. You love this place as much as any of us do. Your relationships with these players is something that is special to me. So, I don't know if a lot of people are going to tip their caps to you, but they should, because what you're doing is amazing. And I couldn't be more proud to have you as a friend and the official podcast of the Red Towel Trust. And however that evolves from here, man, I just appreciate you more than you know.
I appreciate that, man. I look at it, I just see a dream team of people. And the most important part of that is they all love and care about this university. In front of everything, no matter what happens, what decisions are being made, everything goes through the mindset of what's the best for this university. Not what's best for me, not what's best for you, not what's best for anything else, but for these players, the coaches, and this university. And I think that's, a foundation that is going to take this collective to high places, no matter how it evolves, where it goes. I think that's a solid foundation to start from, and I'm proud to be a part of it. And any little thing I can do to help, I'm here for it, 100%. I remember, in the early days, it feels like now, the evolution of the collective, something that got you really excited was when you all attained the tax exempt status. So tell me about that. What's the importance of it to not only the collective, but any potential donors that decide to join and participate with the collective?
We have two arms of this. We have a nonprofit and a for-profit side. So there is a lengthy application process to become a 501c3. There are some very strict rules about how your organization has to operate to maintain that status. And we're in year 2 of having that. And I remember, I think it was the season before this last football season. It was right before we played Charlotte. We got that 501c3 status. And I remember talking to Coach Helton on the sideline at Charlotte, and I was just I felt like I had done something. I felt like, hey, we got something done that could not have come at a better time, because, you fast forward a few games after that, and it became, how do we retain Malachi Corley? How do we retain Austin Reed? And without the financial support of donors that gave to the nonprofit arm, I'm certain that wouldn't have been possible. So that part was really important. And we had a lot of guidance. We did retain a firm that helped us get that done, because I looked at that application, I got confused. I took it to my tax guy here in Bowling Green, and he was like, I don't want to touch it. And I was like, well, we got to figure it out. And we were one of the first, Division I schools in the country to have that status. And I'm proud of that. And we continue to operate that arm with all of our efforts forwarding on to other nonprofits and charities. And I think that is both arms make a difference, but that one is very, very special to me. So it means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a really common misconception in this space that, players, athletes, across the board, here at Western Kentucky, maybe even, are just getting spoiled rich. We're just throwing bags of money, McDonald's bags, $100 handshakes, whatever you want to call it, Lamborghinis, just all that excessiveness that you see that are the outliers, at the big P5 dogs that are, the 1%. What's the actual reality of what's happening, with these funds that are being distributed to players at Western Kentucky?
There are no Lamborghinis. A couple of my favorite things that I'll point out: we did not buy Austin Reed a Corvette. I borrowed one because it sounded cool for a return video. Once we did that one time, when I was talking to Upton, I said, we got to do something big, because I knew he was coming back before the public did. And I was like, we can't do the Corvette again, because first of all, it wasn't brand new and people online were roasting us for that. So we had a partner of Learfield and WKU Athletics let us borrow $180,000 BMW SUV that I was terrified to drive from the dealership to the football stadium. Even Upton didn't want to drive it. That's how we were, just like a little out of our element there. But we like to have fun with it. But the reality of what's really going on are there are a lot of guys that are on 3-figure a month amounts that we are trying to make their lives better. You know, from the guys have meal plans, but think about an offensive lineman, or think about somebody that needs to bulk up. You know, they need to supplement what they're eating. Malachi Corley did a good job in his video talking about being able to buy a better mattress to get a better night's sleep. And the off season he had prior to his final season that he just had, I've seen how he comes into camp, what kind of shape he's in, and he came in prime shape. And so being able to afford to eat better, being able to afford to set himself up to sleep better makes a difference. I'm extremely proud of players that we have a player that does not play very much at all, who just had a parent pass away. And, you know, we're able to provide something every month so that he's not as much of a burden to a family that has gone from 2 incomes down to 1. Like that's meaningful stuff. And that comes, you know, with the suggestion from coaches that don't just care about winning and losing. They want to see players not struggle, and they want to see their lives improve. So that means a lot to me. We were able to put 3 players last season on the equivalent of a scholarship. So we're 3 walk-ons that got those things covered. So stuff like that means quite a bit to me. We have one player, and I know Nick Uhlenhop has mentioned this before. He's got 2 twin babies, and we are able to help provide money that he turns around and buys health insurance for those babies with. I mean, I have 2 kids. Can you imagine being an athlete without a position that's got benefits and you have children? Like, think about that for a minute. And so those are things that I take a lot of pride in. And then when we tell everybody that, hey, every membership level counts, every dollar counts, like when you give $5 a month, like a portion of what you're giving is going to health insurance for 2 twin babies of someone that's going to play football here next year. Like that's the impact that you're making. You know, whatever percentage that you're making up of what they get, like you are giving to somebody who has lost a parent and is struggling to get their life back on track. Like those are things that mean the world to me. So NIL is special. It's here to stay. It can give us a competitive advantage if we lean into it the right way. And so those are just a few stories, and there's so many more. And I would like for our fans to hear it from those guys more often, to be honest with you.
Yep. That's where I come in.
That's right.
Now, another one of those misconceptions is that, you know, the collectives and NIL deals, that there's still a lot of shadiness. Now, I'm not saying there's not in other places. You know, we've seen a couple collectives in the news recently. Florida State was given some recruiting violations due to their collective. You know, University of Tennessee is currently in a fight, you know, over, you know, their collective and how it's operating, whether, you know, right or wrong, you know, they're going to go to court and go to battle for what it is and what it isn't. So, you know, what are we doing here, you know, at the Red Towel Trust to ensure that we're doing everything by the book and we don't become that next example of, oh, look what this is turning into. It's a bad thing.
So first of all, let me tell you this. I'm obsessed with keeping up with whatever the trends are, whatever changes are being made, when rules are amended and changed. And then we're not doing this by ourselves. You mentioned Tennessee. It's probably a great time to talk about this. So one of my roommates, I've known this guy since high school. His name is Brandon Spurlock. If you're out there listening, I love you, buddy. What are the odds that, and he used to work for WKU Athletics as well and was a student manager for the football team. Now he works for Spire Sports, and he runs the volunteer club, the collective for Tennessee Athletics, and they're in charge of football, men's basketball, and baseball. So Brandon has been at a Power 5 at an SEC school. And so I have picked his brain at no cost for years. And I said, hey, look, I know you got the resources, but I also know you love this place. So when you know something, let me know. If you have suggestions, let me know. And we spent hours and hours on the phone and on Zooms. And um, I had a moment last summer where I just reached a point of frustration with a lot of things. And I got on the phone with him. I'm in my son's closet. I go in closets in my house when I want to have a tough phone call and I need privacy. So I'm in my son's closet and said, Brandon, man, why can't you I wish you could just manage us. And, I don't even know if he wants me sharing this, but I'm doing it anyway. He goes, look, we're actually about to start doing that. I'll be honest with you, a mid-major G5 is not who we would take on as a client, but I'm an alumni and I love that place. So let's make this official and let's just figure something out. And I know you know this, and a lot of people know this. I lean more towards alumni and people that are from this place when it comes to people that I would like to align with myself, people that I would like to align this collective with. And, Brandon loves this place. And when we got into that official relationship, we've now married into the Spire and Vol Club family. And that is the most well-run outfit you could ever imagine. It's looked at as the cream of the crop when it comes to NIL collectives. And I'm just so thankful to have unfettered access to them at all times, because they have some of the same problems we do, just on a larger scale, and we're able to talk things out. And so Brandon has been an unbelievable resource, and we absolutely would not be where we're at today without his assistance and the rest of Spire.
Yeah, that kind of leads right into the next piece was, that the collective has announced partnerships with a number of organizations, including us, Topper Talk, Spire that you just mentioned, and then most recently the Boys and Girls Club. I guess talk about some of those relationships and just, how they've evolved and maybe what's to come of those partnerships.
So the partnership with Spire is an advisory one. They're essentially a consulting firm for us, and they helped us build that website. I had a friend that also is an alumni of Western that helped me throw something together before the New Orleans Bowl where you could click and donate. And I'm so thankful for that. But it was obviously behind the times, and it was good enough for what we needed when we needed it. But we knew we needed to have something legitimate. And so Spire helped us build our website. They helped us build the framework for our memberships, which I know we'll talk about later. And the relationship that we have with the Boys and Girls Club, I'm really excited about, because here's the thing. The more you are compensated as a student athlete, the more community service you have to do. So if you're paid 2x or 4x the next guy, you're doing 2x or 4x the hour. So if you think about a star player that is being compensated a really nice amount, they are spending a ton of time at charities. And the one thing that may not occur to a lot of people is that can actually put pressure on a charity. You can't just be like, all right, we're sending this guy over for 4 hours today, 4 hours tomorrow. And so the Boys and Girls Club partnership, thanks to some mutual connections that also are involved with WKU, they gave us one really good vessel for these guys to spend their time in a meaningful way that impacts this community. And so that partnership got done because of Nick Uhlenhop. For me, some things were just an idea that he's an execution guy, and he got that done. There are more charities and foundations that we work with that we are going to announce official partnerships with very soon, as soon as they're done. I think one or two may already be done and are close to being announced, and they're causes that mean something to all of us and that our guys spend a lot of time at. And we want to highlight those places because of how much they help us as well. The Boys and Girls Club has assisted us in our mission, and we're forever grateful for that. So if there's things that we can do to give back in addition to just our time, that's what we intend to do. So the future is more of that, more partnerships when we feel like they're beneficial to us. We've partnered with WKU Athletics. I know it took a while. I know it took a while, but we just needed to make sure that was set up the right way. And I feel great about that. It's cool to look in the arena and the stadium and see our logo. I hope that grows, from here on out. So we can't do this alone. So we can't do it without Spire. We can't do it without Topper Talk. We can't do it without the Boys and Girls Club. And so it's called a collective, but it's funny that it's turned out to be such a collective effort from so many people. But I hope that answers your question. A little long-winded.
No, it does. And, luckily we've been blessed to have a couple of the athletes on here. We've had Malachi on here. We had Rodney on here a couple of weeks ago, and both of those guys talked about the community service. And I know it's something that is in their contractual language of obligations they have to fulfill, but you can tell that these guys, when they're doing it, they see the value in it, of paying it forward, of giving it back to the community. So, just what have you seen from that? And I know, I think it was over 400 plus community service hours this last year. I'm sure we're going to blow that number away going forward this year, especially with that new partnership and more coming down the line. So, tell us more about that community service and what you've seen and what the guys are doing out in the community.
I think the interview you did with Rodney Howard was really great, because Rodney is an A-plus human being, somebody that I'm grateful to call a friend. And I noticed you were kind of wrapping up talking about that, and he came back and continued on. He was excited to talk about that. And that's what I've seen. So he also talked about getting to see things from a different perspective. So, sometimes all of us in life, not just the student athletes, we get tunnel vision. We're focused on what's in front of us. And when you step into somebody else's shoes or somebody else's arena, you get a small glimpse into what that looks like. And I think you maybe value the things that you have more, the relationships that you have more. And so with the Boys and Girls Club, there's so many great stories. Like, guys will go over there and they need to put 2 hours in, and they'll stay there a lot longer than they're supposed to for no credit, because they'll meet a child that they hit it off with, or, things like that. There's a recent story about, a kid wanting a basketball because he didn't have one at home, and one of our athletes wanted him to take the basketball, and the place was like, no. And he was like, you know what, I'll use my NIL money to replace those basketballs. I mean, when I hear that, it makes all the hours and the struggle, it makes it completely worth it. Like, does it get any better than that? Like that stuff is impactful to me. So I'm just so proud of these guys and girls. And I hope that it continues to grow, because I'm huge about this fan base. I want us to have more fans. I want Diddle full every game. I want Smith Stadium full every game. I promise you, these student athletes do too. And I feel like if they can impact people at a young age, and then the families of these young people feel impacted, they'll feel not that they owe it, but that they will organically want to come support it. And I think the beauty in all this is that we can grow this fan base long-term and grow it the right way. And this place is special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, each of us can contribute, like you said earlier. Big or small, we can all chip into that. So I guess tell us a little bit about, what are those Red Towel Trust membership levels, and even other ways that you can donate and contribute.
First of all, if you want to contribute, we take one-time donations. You can call us, you can DM us on our socials, and we will find a way to get with you and take a check. If you want to go out to lunch and discuss ways that you can give or help, we're happy to do that. Memberships derived from the concept of, things are tight for a lot of people. The economy's maybe not where everybody's comfortable. And so it's easier to maybe give if you get something in return. So how sustainable would it be if we basically made this just super fan club with benefits where you could give, but you also got something in return? I think Coach Lutz does a great job with the fist bumps after the game. You get to be around the players, but what if you had more access to them? What if you were able to talk to them more often? What if you were able to get a happy birthday video message from them? And so now all those things are possible due to name, image, and likeness. So just to make sure I don't mess this up, I pulled up redtoweltrust.com on my iPad here. And for right now, we have 4 membership levels starting at $5 a month. So one less Starbucks a month, and you can help the Tops, okay? And you get a car decal. We got 2 different ones. You get access to exclusive content. So let me just, let's have some fun with this, shall we? Exclusive content like, special videos from people. Whoop, there we go. Like Rodney Howard here. How cool is that? That wasn't possible before. At the $25 a month level, and this is where I feel like we can make an extremely big impact, because if you think $25 a month times 12, that's $300. If we can get 1,000 people at that level, that's $300,000. Now we're talking about legitimately improving these teams significantly, you know? So with that $25 a month, again, we go back to the concept of what if you get something in return? So you get the same benefits as the previous tier. You get a free t-shirt. The ones last year had an inaugural year on it. We're going to keep doing something cool so you can see what year you signed up. And then you get event access with the student athletes. So we're talking watch parties and tailgates. My baby, maybe the reason the athletics partnership took a while, is I really wanted to secure facilities access, because the tailgate that we had at Diddle Arena that yourself and Tyler came to wouldn't have been possible without that. And that was really cool to me. And then a watch party. We're having a watch party at White Squirrel Brewery for those that can't make it to Indianapolis this weekend. My family will be up in Indy, but Nick Uhlenhop is, he's biting the bullet and staying back and making something for Red Towel Trust members from that level and up to be able to come to. When I tell you these tailgates are going to be something you don't want to miss, I think the amount of FOMO you'll have walking on South Lawn and seeing that Red Towel Trust tailgate with all of our student athletes from other sports, hopefully you'll see Don McHenry in there, players like that. You can come in and mingle with them before you go watch the Tops lay a beat down on somebody on the gridiron. And so we've got a great framework for that set up, thanks to Spire's guidance and how they're doing things at Tennessee. And I've seen the vision. I believe in the vision. And it's something that if you're paying $25 a month, once you're sitting at one of those tailgates, you're going to be like, man, I'm getting more than I'm even paying for right now. We got a $50 a month level, which adds in a quarterly autograph item. We are going to mail you an autograph from a student athlete, and you're not going to know which one it is. We're going to over deliver. We're going to make sure that's a really good thing. And then lastly, we've got a $100 level where you get those same benefits. You also get a custom video from a student athlete. So if you want Fluff to wish your son a happy birthday, or you want TJ Finley or Caden Veltkamp to, tell your wife happy anniversary. I'm sure she'd really appreciate hearing from Caden, right? Post Bowl hero. Those things are all possible now. And I think that's really cool. And then we're a little behind, but we're going to get this. We're going to get this going. The access to the bi-monthly Zooms with student athletes and coaches. So just imagine you get to get on a Zoom and you can ask Coach Lutz point blank about recruiting and maybe some of the people we're looking at, or you can be on a Zoom with Upton Stout and ask him why he spurned USC and Michigan to stay home with us. Like, we want to provide those things for people. If NIL, the whole concept behind this, if NIL went away as we know it, if this was a fan club with these benefits, we want to create something that you would still want to pay to be a part of. So that's the premise behind this. And the $5 a month does help, because there's strength in numbers. I saw how many people were in Huntsville this weekend. If we got everybody signed up for any membership level, I'm telling you right now, we can have more talented rosters in these sports. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And I think, a couple neat things that have come down the pipe recently, which, we're aiming high. Right now we're still pretty young and in the infancy of the collective and where it is now and where it's going to go. Nick Uhlenhop's just come on board, first of this month, it feels like. And he's already announced a push for 1,000 members. And then just within the last couple of days, they've announced a $100,000 donor match campaign so for every new membership signed up, it's doubled automatically. Talk about a little bit about those pushes, those initiatives, because those are huge.
So for one, imagine your impact is double. $100,000 is a lot of money. That impacts a program. And so if you're given $25 a month, which is $300 a year, now what you've given has multiplied by 2 and is now $600. And I want to talk about the psychology behind that. We're grateful to have some donors that definitely give a significant amount. But the common thing when we speak to those people is that they want to see more people buy in. They want to see more people get involved. So this is kind of the put up or shut up way to go, hey, I'm giving X, but I'm going to give another $100,000 if we can get this fan base to give $100,000. So it's all about being in this together. It's about making sure everybody knows that they are making an impact. And I'm telling you right now, if you made a one-time donation of $5 on our website 2 years ago during the New Orleans Bowl, when Don McHenry cut the net and Rodney Howard cut his piece of net, you helped. You gave something that went towards that success happening. When Katie Hutchinson caught that touchdown in the Toastery Bowl on the most nerve-wracking drive I think I can recall in many, many years, like, you helped make that happen. This roster exists because of what we've done so far. So just imagine how much further we can go. And also we want to make it worth your while.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the impact on student athletes is just almost immeasurable, and like I mentioned earlier, we've had Malachi on here, before the bowl game, after the season was over, and got to hear him just talk about, you mentioned earlier about refueling his body. He got to talk about rehab, just recovering better. We heard Rodney get on here and just talk about that impact of the community service, being able to help out family. Coach Helton talks about it. His guys are full-time athletes. Like you said, 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. Their football is their schedule. And I've seen one of them when I was trying to set up an interview with one of the guys last season. The only breaks and there were meal breaks. And I was just like, buddy, we don't have time to set up an interview while you're in this schedule right now. So, I think, like you said, collectively, we have to all come together, even the $5 level up to the $100 level per month, or a one-time donation. Right now is the time to strike. Especially, we've just seen the success of the basketball team. It's been 11 years since we've gotten to feel this feeling that we felt in Huntsville. And there was, 3,000-4,000 red Hilltoppers there. And it was amazing. We just saw the football team have one of the best bowl game comebacks that you're ever going to see. And all that is derived from good people, good players, good coaches. It makes winning so much easier. And if we want to feel that, if we want to experience that and live that, we all can. And we could do it a lot more often if we each just find a way to give. Like you said, $1 Starbucks a month for the $5 level. I think that's pretty attainable. So I guess, why do you think this initiative, just big picture, why is this initiative so big and so important to our university athletics?
Think of how many times in the past, you're a fan, I'm a fan. We've been fans long before we've done any of this stuff. And think about when a coach leaves and you're like, I wanted one more year. Or what could we have done to keep him? Or, player transfers and you're like, man, I wish that hadn't happened. We have some semblance of control over that now. The better our NIL profile is as a fan base, the longer we can keep a Coach Helton or a Coach Lutz. I promise you, it factors in. If it weren't for this community, we wouldn't have been able to keep Upton Stout and players like him. And you have to understand how coveted people like that are in the open market. So we're fighting an uphill battle, and these are good human beings. Like, that's the thing. I know Coach Lutz touched on it last week after winning the championship, of hire them, when they graduate. I'm going to talk about the Upton Stout one for a second because he's special to me. I'm competitive. I don't want anybody to leave. No place is better than WKU. I firmly believe that. But we went to the Hawaii game a couple football seasons ago. Very fortunate to do that. And I just remember this moment. We're leaving the stadium. It was a great win, and Upton was over where you leave, and the fans were kind of lined up, and there was a dad in a Hawaii jersey and a little kid. And he not only stopped to sign an autograph and take a picture, he gave his gloves. He talked to the kid extra. And I just remember being like, that's a good human being. That wasn't one of our fans. He didn't have to do that. He chose to do that. I'm sure he was exhausted because I know how hard he plays, and he made time for that because he's a good guy. So when, this transfer portal came up, it meant something to me for him to finish here. I want to share degrees with these guys. I want these guys to finish what they started with us. So it's a point of pride for good human beings like him to be here. People like Rodney, seeing his mom at the tournament, like NIL factors into that stuff. He's able to help get her there and make sure she's got a place to stay. Like that stuff just means a lot. And you as a fan have the ability, no matter how big or small, to impact those things coming to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. And another easy example of this is, we all saw the run that FAU had to the Final Four last year. And as soon as that happens, we're looking around going, why not us? Have you seen the gym they play in? I've seen high school gyms bigger than that place. But they were able to get the talent, and then they retained all that talent to this year. I don't know anything about their collective, nothing about it, but they had to have done and are doing something to not only retain their coach, but to retain every single player from that squad last year. And now that we've experienced, a glimpse of that this year, cutting down nets for the first time in, again, 11 years, why not us? I don't know what this run is going to look like, this week and this weekend. But I know we have a lot of players that are eligible to come back next year. And why not us?
Retention is the name of the game. I know that it should be no secret that our head coach's first focus is on retaining good players. And, their battles, their services are wanted by a lot of universities, and what we do can be the difference between keeping them or them having to move on. Sometimes I know for a fact there's players that don't want to leave, that feel like they don't have a choice. So I want to make every effort to have that choice exist for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned it earlier. You mentioned the website, and I know, that's been a shiny new toy since it's been unveiled. But where can people go and find more information about this collective and those donor levels, or how can they get in touch with anyone from Nick down to you and Keith and Kelly, Rachel, to get more information about what the Red Towel Trust is, how they can help, how they can build that relationship and just start contributing to the collective?
First of all, if you see one of us, come talk to us. We're happy to talk to you. We're happy to pull a player aside if we've got one handy to talk to you about it. We're on social media. So we're on X, Instagram, Facebook. At the bottom of our website, we've got a phone number. You can call us. You can DM myself, Keith, Rachel, Kelly, Nick. We'll do our best to respond to you, but we're fans. We're all in this together. We want your ideas too. If there's something we're not thinking of, tell us. If there's somebody we need to take to lunch or talk to, or somebody that doesn't understand that needs convincing, like, we'll do it. We're all in this together. So communication's the name of the game in my business, and it's the same thing in this collective. The more we can communicate, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to let you get out of here, man. I know we've taken up a lot of time. I know you wanted to take the time. I know you put no time limit on us talking, but really appreciate you coming on, joining, and just giving a lot of education to people that just may or may not know just exactly what is happening, what's going on, and what we need to continue to push for to take this thing to the next level. We're at a good place now, but we have much higher goals. And I know, we're going to keep aiming until we get there. So I really appreciate you coming on. And as always, this is an open invite. Anytime you want to come back, bring a friend. Hey, we'll do this again.
I appreciate you more than you know. I appreciate the fans, these coaches, this community more than you know. But before I leave, I've got one question for you. This wasn't on your list. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Who has it better than us?
Nobody, buddy. You know it.
Nobody, baby.
Go Tops.
Go Tops.
Later, guys.